Hi, so we are going to add a shooter component to vehicles. So if you follow the last video, the ProBuilder as a Unity asset, you will see that we took this armored personnel carrier and we broke it up into submeshes. I'm also going to be using the Panzer here. Just type Panzer and you'll find it's a free one. It's got all the pieces already broken out. Using Ultimate FPS, I'm going to be using the VP shooter component. I've got this cartoon effects pack, and I'm using realistic car controller to control the vehicle. So here's what my final APC looks like. If you remember, we've got all these components are separate, doors open, this can rotate, and things like that. I've got the Panzer is pulled in as well. I've got all my own colliders set up for it, and I had to set up empty game objects so I can make the wheels turn in the correct direction. Otherwise, the pivot was way over here instead of right in the center. So I went through all these steps to get everything ready. I set up my realistic car controller on my vehicles, and I did the same thing for the APC so I can actually get in and drive. From here, I loaded up the standard assets, Unity standard asset, just the utility one. And this has a mouse rotator script on it, simple mouse rotator, that I am going to use to rotate the turret and the guns up and down. So my vehicle shooter script, short script, this is the main part of it. On fixed update, it's going to look for my the get button from VP input, which is a UFPS mono behavior. And then if this fire command is found, it will try to fire. My shooter is, so I'm using the VP shooter, which comes with UFPS. I'm requiring the component anywhere you put this script. And then I am going to get a reference to it right here on start. From there, I am going to this public game object projectile spawn. I'm going to assign it to the shooter that's the spawn point. On the transform for the muzzle flash, I am going to assign it as that's the location for where the muzzle flash is. And then the same thing for the shell. The shell, this is going to be the direction you want it to eject in, so it won't be straightforward. These two are going to be straightforward at the end of the weapon. I've got some tooltips on here just to help. And then also on this script, I've got all my notes to remind anyone that's using the script of the process to go through to make sure you set everything up correctly. From there, I have in the vehicle script, I'm using my namespace. I'm using the Unity's standard assets utility namespace. For this one, I've got a piece where if you're in the vehicle, you can shoot. And if you're not in the vehicle, you can't shoot. So basically, I'm going to go through and I'm going to enable all my mouse rotators, the simple mouse rotator. I made a list so I could have multiple ones. And this loop right here just goes through each individual one and it enables it or it disables it. I made it so that you can have a game object for your shooter component. I put all of mine on an empty game object. I suggest you do the same thing. And you're always going to want to set this to true then. So if it's true, it's going to activate that game object or deactivate it. If it's not true, if it's set to false, all it's going to do is it's going to turn off this script. and it will also turn off all those mouse rotators. So right here, it either enables the script or it disables it. Here, it actually disables or enables the actual component. So this script for testing, I have this Boolean set up and I'm looking for it in the fixed update. I don't like this method, but it's just for testing. You're going to want to actually call can shoot or no shoot in your enter exit vehicle scripts. So on this vehicle, on this particular gun, the 50 cal, I created an empty child and I added my vehicle shooter script. Below this, I added arms for visuals, so that way it's off, you don't see it, and it's on. So I've got my vehicle shooter, so you're going to need your projectile location, which is right here. It's at the tip of the vehicle, tip of the weapon. It's the blue arrows the way it's shooting. I have a muzzle flash, which happens to be in the same location for this weapon. And I have a spawn shell, which is over here. You'll see the blue arrow is pointing, that's the direction the shells are going to go. And I added a camera child. So I've got my projectile set up. This is similar to when you're setting up a weapon. So you got your bullet, prefab, your firing rate, scale, you got your count, how many bullets, I'm doing 5, you got your spread. I rarely put it on 0. Got your muzzle flash, don't need to worry about location because you're setting it here. Got your shell, you're going to want to fix the size, pick your shell, add some spin to it, and it's going to spawn from there. Now, got your sound, machine gun fire. Now this input fire command, anytime this from the UFPS input manager, it's right here. So I've got attack. So whatever you call your attack, shoot, whatever you call it, this one is for the left mouse button, and then zoom is right mouse button. So you can actually change this to whatever you want. I'm using attack, and then I have another one set up almost identical to that one as a child, and this one is looking for zoom. I've got a different projectile, different rate of fire, different muzzle flash. So anytime I use the zoom button, right mouse button, it'll fire this other one. On the Panzer, the tank, I have a child of, so I've got the turret, I've got a child of that, which holds the weapon mount. So this is the weapon mount. The pivot's not good, so you have to do a different pivot. So I fixed my pivot. And as a child of that, my first one is, I've got the vehicle shooter. This red right here is where the bullet is actually going to spawn from, going straight forward, and the muzzle flash is going to spawn from. I'm not using shells. I'm looking for the attack component button. And I've got my projectiles as well. And then I have a child of that is my secondary fire, and it's looking for zoom. The yellow is the muzzle flash, the red is where the projectile is going to come from. So on the main vehicle, I've got this in the vehicle script. You see I've got a size of 2 for my mounts. For this one, I've got, this is on the actual gun mount. So I've got my simple rotator script. It's going to go, if it says 40, that means it's going to go between 20 and -20. On the turret, I've got a rotator as well, and this 620, so it goes 360 degrees. Similar on the Panzer, I've got the actual turret. The pivot was good, so I put a simple mouse rotator there. I've got it where it can go 90 degrees each way. And on the weapon pivot that I had to set up, I've got it set up where it can go 20 degrees up and down. In another video, I actually went over how to use Realistic Car Controller, and I modified their enter and exit script, so I have an interaction key code. For the Panzer, I did it slightly different. So this is shooter. This one will actually check this box on or off if you enter it. For the APC, I was thinking of setting up the vehicle more so you open the doors, you hop in, you choose there, you choose to drive, or you choose a seat. So this setup is a little bit different. You have to actually turn it on. You have to actually click that box to make it work. And just for fun, I created another script called animate track texture. You could just pause and copy this. Basically, it just rotates the texture. It offsets the texture based on how fast you're moving. So, playing the game, I can walk over here, hit the G key, get in the vehicle, I can move the turret around, I can drive, you can see my tracks animate, and I can shoot the weapon. So, left mouse button fires the grenades, right mouse button, it shoots the other one. So, and I can shoot them both at the same time. And they have different rates of fire. And I can get out of the vehicle. I can walk over here to the other one. Like I said, this one I set it up differently. So you have to actually open the doors, and you have to hop in, and then I haven't set up a key, but you'll actually hop in it. Alright, so this one I paused the video and I turned off my hero and my main camera, and I clicked my in vehicle. So you can see I can control it. I've got 360 degrees, I can go up, down. I've got my alternate vehicle, my alternate shoot. So same thing, left mouse click, right mouse click, or both at the same time. So if you're going to make these vehicles so that they can be blown up and stuff, you're going to want to add a VP damage handler script to it. And you're going to want to set this up for whatever your health is, and death spawn object, and explosion, or something like that. So you could grab explosion, you can add audio, whatever. If you do this, you're gonna want you definitely want to add a respawner. So the VP respawner script right here, because if you're in the vehicle and it explodes, that's it, game's over. So you need to respawn, so at least when you die and respawn, you respawn in the vehicle, and then you can jump out. So those are the only other pieces. I hope that helped, and good luck on your games.